You need to hear this if you struggle with anger. Have you ever lost your cool and regretted it later? Yeah, we've all been there. It's frustrating, right? That feeling of anger bubbling up, taking control, and leaving you with the aftermath? But what if I told you that you can actually rewire your responses and stay calm, no matter what life throws at you? By the end of this video, you'll know the secrets to staying calm in any situation. These aren't just some random tips. These strategies have helped countless people, including myself, transform anger into peace. We're talking about real, lasting change, but be warned, you need to apply these exactly as I explain, or they won't work. This isn't about some magic solution. It's about giving you the tools and techniques to master your emotions. Are you ready to take control? Let's dive in. The first tool we're going to unpack is something so simple, yet so powerful, it can literally change your life. The pause. You heard me right, the pause. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about creating a space, a tiny gap between the trigger and your reaction. Think about it. How often do you just react without thinking when you're angry? Most of us do. It's instinctual. But those knee-jerk reactions, they rarely lead to the outcome you want. The pause technique disrupts that automatic response, giving you back control. Here's how it works. The moment you feel anger rising, that's your cue. Don't say anything, don't do anything, just pause. Count backward from 5 to 1 in your head. That's it. Sounds too simple? Don't knock it till you try it. This simple act of counting interrupts the surge of anger, giving your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, a chance to come back online. And trust me, that shift from reacting to thinking can make all the difference. You don't have to take my word for it. Studies have actually shown that pausing before reacting lowers stress levels and leads to better decision-making. When you're flooded with anger, your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your heart races, your breathing gets shallow, and you're primed for a reaction, not rational thought. Taking those few seconds to pause allows your body to literally calm down. Your nervous system gets the signal that maybe, just maybe, this isn't a life or death situation. And when you're not in survival mode, you can think more clearly. I've used this technique countless times in my own life, especially during heated arguments. It's amazing how those few seconds can completely change the trajectory of a conversation. Instead of saying something I regret, I can take a breath, gather my thoughts, and respond in a way that's actually productive. So the next time you feel that anger rising, remember the power of the pause. Those few seconds can be the difference between escalating a situation and finding a peaceful resolution. I remember this one time I was having a disagreement with my husband, Chris. We were both stressed and the conversation was quickly escalating into an argument. I could feel myself getting defensive, my voice getting louder, and I knew I was about to say something I'd regret. But then, I remembered the pause technique. I literally stopped mid-sentence and took a deep breath. Chris looked at me confused, but I just kept breathing, counting down from 5 in my head. In those few seconds, I could feel the tension easing. My shoulders relaxed and I was able to see the situation more clearly. Instead of snapping back, I calmly explained how I was feeling. To my surprise, Chris responded in a much calmer tone as well. We were able to actually hear each other and work through the issue without it turning into a huge fight. That experience really solidified for me how powerful the pause can be. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about approaching it in a way that's healthy and productive. Now here's a pro tip to make the pause technique even more effective. Combine it with a deep breath. When you breathe deeply, you're not just getting more oxygen into your system, you're actually signaling to your nervous system to chill out. Think about it. When you're stressed or angry, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. It's like your body is preparing for a marathon you didn't sign up for. But when you take a deep, slow breath, you're essentially hitting the reset button on your nervous system. So when you feel that anger coming on, pause, and then take a long, slow inhale, filling your lungs completely. Hold it for a beat, and then exhale slowly. Repeat this a few times, and you'll be amazed at how much calmer you feel. This combination of the pause and deep breathing is like a 1-2 punch to knock out anger before it takes hold. It's a simple yet incredibly effective way to regain control of your emotions and respond to challenging situations with grace and composure. Let's be real. There are times when we forget to pause. We're human, it happens. But it's in those moments when we react without thinking that things can go really wrong. Words are said that can't be taken back. Relationships are damaged. And we're left feeling regretful and frustrated. Think about a time when you reacted impulsively out of anger. What was the outcome? Did it make the situation better? Probably not. In fact, it probably made things worse. That's because when we react without thinking, we're not in control of ourselves. We're letting our emotions dictate our actions, and that's never a recipe for success. The good news is that even if you forget to pause in the heat of the moment, you can still recover. The key is to catch yourself as quickly as possible and try to de-escalate the situation. So you blew it. You didn't pause, and now you're in the middle of an argument. Don't beat yourself up about it. It happens to the best of us. The important thing is to try to get back on track. The first step is to acknowledge that you overreacted. A simple "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said" that can go a long way in diffusing the tension. Next, try to shift the focus away from blame and towards understanding. Instead of getting defensive, ask the other person to share their perspective. Listen without interrupting, and try to see things from their point of view. Remember, it takes two to tango. If the other person is unwilling to meet you halfway, you can't force them. But by taking responsibility for your own actions, you're creating the space for a more productive conversation. The more you practice the pause technique, the better you'll become at catching yourself before you react. And even when you slip up, remember that you have the power to turn things around. Mastering the pause technique is a game changer, I promise you. But it's just the first step. Now that you've learned to control your initial reaction, it's time to take it a step further and shift your perspective. Because sometimes it's not just about pausing. It's about seeing the situation through a different lens. Now, if the pause technique is about control, this next hack is about understanding. We're about to dive into the power of reframing, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. So stay tuned. Okay, so you've mastered the pause technique. You're a pro at hitting that internal pause button before reacting. But what happens when the anger still lingers? That's where the power of reframing comes in. Reframing is all about shifting your perspective, changing the way you view the situation to lessen its emotional impact. Think of it like this. You're looking at a painting up close, and all you see are brush strokes, maybe even a mistake or two. But when you step back and look at the whole picture, you see the beauty, the intention, the masterpiece. Reframing is about taking that step back. It's about asking yourself, will this matter in a year? Or what could this person be going through that might be contributing to their behavior? It's about choosing to see the situation from a more understanding and compassionate perspective. And let me tell you, it's not always easy. Our brains are wired to focus on the negative, to see the threat, to go into protection mode. But with practice, you can train your brain to reframe situations and respond with more peace and understanding. Here's the thing about reframing. It's not about letting people off the hook or pretending that their behavior is okay. It's about understanding that everyone is fighting their own battles, and sometimes those battles spill over into their interactions with others. When you can tap into empathy, you're essentially disarming the anger. Studies have actually shown that empathy reduces anger by a whopping 60%. That's huge. When you can put yourself in the other person's shoes, even just for a moment, it becomes much harder to stay angry. You start to see their humanity, their vulnerabilities, and it shifts the entire dynamic of the interaction. I'll give you a personal example. Years ago, I had a huge falling out with one of my closest friends. We were both going through difficult times and our communication completely broke down. I was so hurt and angry, and I was ready to walk away from the friendship altogether. But then I remembered the power of reframing. I forced myself to consider what she might be going through that was causing her to act this way. And as I did, my anger started to dissipate, replaced by a sense of compassion and understanding. So I reached out to my friend and we had a long, honest conversation. It turned out she was dealing with some really heavy stuff that she hadn't felt comfortable sharing with anyone. By taking the time to reframe the situation and approach her with empathy, I was able to save our friendship. Now, I'm not saying that reframing will magically solve every conflict. Sometimes relationships just run their course. But I do believe that it can make a world of difference in how we approach disagreements and challenges with the people we care about. The key is to be willing to look beyond the surface, to see the human being behind the behavior, and to approach the situation with an open mind and an open heart. It's not always easy, but trust me, it's worth it. One of the biggest obstacles to reframing is our tendency to jump to conclusions. We see someone acting a certain way, and we immediately assume the worst. We create stories in our heads about their intentions, and those stories often fuel our anger. But here's the thing, our assumptions are often wrong. We don't have all the information. We don't know what's going on in other people's lives, what kind of day they've had, or what battles they're fighting. When we jump to conclusions, we're essentially filling in the blanks with our own insecurities and biases. And let's be honest, those blanks are rarely filled with positive, compassionate thoughts. We tend to assume the worst, and that negativity can quickly spiral out of control. So the next time you find yourself jumping to conclusions, hit the pause button. Challenge your assumptions. Ask yourself if there's another way to interpret the situation. Instead of assuming that someone is intentionally trying to hurt you, consider the possibility that they're simply having a bad day, or that they're unaware of how their actions are affecting you. Now, I'm not saying that you should tolerate bad behavior. If someone is consistently treating you poorly, you have every right to set boundaries and protect yourself. But before you write someone off or allow anger to consume you, take a moment to challenge your assumptions. You might be surprised at how much your perspective shifts when you're willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. Remember, reframing is a skill. And like any skill, it takes practice. The more you do it, the easier it will become to catch yourself when you're jumping to conclusions and to choose a more compassionate and understanding perspective. You don't have to wait for a major conflict to practice reframing. In fact, it's often the small, everyday annoyances that provide the best opportunities to flex your reframing muscles. Think about it. How often do you get frustrated by things like traffic, long lines, or a slow internet connection? These are all situations where reframing can make a big difference. Instead of letting frustration get the best of you, try to see the situation from a different angle. Stuck in traffic? Use the time to listen to a podcast, call a friend, or simply enjoy the stillness. Long line at the grocery store? Strike up a conversation with the person next to you, or use the time to mentally plan your week. Slow internet connection? Take a break from work and go for a walk, or spend some time reading a book. The more you practice reframing in these low-stakes situations, the more natural it will become to apply it to bigger challenges. You'll start to see setbacks as opportunities for growth, and you'll be less likely to let anger and frustration control your reactions. But hold on, we're not done yet. We've talked about controlling your reactions with the pause technique and shifting your perspective with reframing. Now it's time to unleash the power of a secret weapon, a calm trigger. This is the final and, dare I say, most effective hack for staying calm in any situation. Before we jump to the final and most effective hack, don't forget to hit subscribe to manifest peace and purpose in your life. Let's grow together. Okay, are you ready for the final and most effective hack for staying calm? This one is a game changer. It's called anchoring with a calm trigger. Now, this technique isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending you're not feeling them. It's about creating a shortcut to access a state of calmness on demand, even in the middle of chaos. Think of it like a reset button for your brain. We all have those moments where stress hits us like a ton of bricks, right? Your heart starts racing, your palms get sweaty, and your mind goes into overdrive. An anchor is like having a secret weapon to hit that reset button and regain control. This technique is incredibly powerful because it taps into the way our brains are wired. You see, our brains love to create associations. When you consistently pair a specific trigger with a feeling of calmness, your brain starts to connect the two. So the next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, you can activate that trigger, and your brain will automatically start to shift into a calmer state. It's like magic, but it's science. Now, the first step is to choose your anchor. This can be anything that evokes a sense of peace and relaxation for you. It could be a word, a phrase, a physical touch, or even a mental image. Some people like to use a calming word like peace, serenity, or calm. Others prefer a short phrase like, I am safe, this too shall pass, or I've got this. The key is to choose something that resonates with you personally. If you're more of a visual person, you might choose a mental image that brings you a sense of tranquility. Picture yourself on a peaceful beach, listening to the waves crashing on the shore, or imagine yourself surrounded by a lush forest, breathing in the fresh air. And if you prefer something more physical, you can use a touch-based anchor. This could be as simple as gently pressing your thumb and index finger together, rubbing your thumb over your knuckles, or placing your hand over your heart. Once you've chosen your anchor, it's time to set it. This means creating a strong association between the anchor and a state of calmness. The best way to do this is to practice regularly, ideally every day. Find a quiet space where you can relax and focus for a few minutes. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and bring yourself into the present moment. Now, focus on your anchor. If it's a word or phrase, repeat it silently to yourself. If it's a physical touch, gently engage in that touch. And if it's a mental image, bring that image to mind as vividly as possible. As you focus on your anchor, allow yourself to really sink into a state of calmness. Notice the sensations in your body. Feel your muscles relaxing, your breathing slowing down, and your heart rate easing. Embrace this feeling of peace and serenity. The more you practice setting your anchor, the stronger that association will become. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Now here's the really exciting part. Using your anchor in real-life situations. The next time you feel stress or anxiety creeping in, activate your anchor. If it's a word or phrase, repeat it to yourself silently or even out loud if you can. If it's a physical touch, engage in that touch discreetly. And if it's a mental image, bring that image to mind and let it fill you with calmness. At first, you might need to consciously remind yourself to use your anchor, but over time, it will become more automatic. You'll find yourself instinctively reaching for your anchor whenever you need to regain your composure. Remember, the key is to practice consistently. The more you use your anchor in everyday situations, the more effective it will become. It's like having a secret weapon in your back pocket, ready to deploy whenever you need to stay calm and collected. Want to make your anchor even more powerful? You can amplify its effects by pairing it with other calming techniques. For example, you could combine your anchor with deep breathing exercises. As you engage in your anchor, focus on taking slow, deep breaths, inhaling calmness and exhaling tension. Another powerful combination is pairing your anchor with visualization. As you activate your anchor, visualize yourself successfully navigating the stressful situation. See yourself remaining calm, composed, and in control. You can also enhance your anchor by incorporating aromatherapy. Certain scents like lavender, chamomile, and sandalwood have calming properties. Light a scented candle or use essential oils to create a relaxing atmosphere while you practice setting your anchor. By combining your anchor with these additional techniques, you create a multisensory experience that amplifies the feeling of calmness and relaxation. Remember, life is full of unexpected challenges, but with the power of anchoring, you can equip yourself with a tool to navigate those challenges with grace and resilience. This technique is used by everyone from athletes to performers to CEOs to stay focused, centered, and in control under pressure. And the best part is, it's a skill anyone can learn and master with practice. So choose your anchor, set it with intention, and watch as it transforms your ability to stay calm in any situation. You've got this. Now go out there and anchor yourself to calmness. So there you have it, the secret to staying calm in every situation. We've covered 3 powerful techniques: the pause, reframing, and anchoring. Remember, these aren't just quick fixes, they're life-changing skills that require practice and consistency. But I promise you, the more you use them, the more natural they'll become, and the more you'll experience the incredible benefits of a calmer, more peaceful you. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Don't underestimate the power of believing in yourself. You have the strength, the resilience, and the inner resources to handle anything life throws your way. Trust yourself, believe in your ability to stay calm, and watch as you conquer any challenge with grace and confidence. And there you have it. The secrets to staying calm in every situation are now at your fingertips. Remember, mastering these techniques takes practice, but the rewards are immeasurable. Imagine a life where you're less reactive, more in control, and able to navigate challenges with a sense of peace and clarity. That's the power of emotional mastery. Which technique resonated with you the most? Was it the pause, reframing, or anchoring? I'm eager to hear your thoughts, so head down to the comments and share your insights. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more empowering content. Together, let's unlock your full potential and create a life filled with purpose, passion, and unshakable calm. Until next time, stay empowered. And don't miss my next video on Manifest and Speak with Conviction, the secret to unlocking your full potential.